In my own mind, I still feel like I'm 25, but I recently had a birthday and the numbers are telling me that I am more than double that. So I'm not a young girl anymore, but I'm young at heart. And I enjoy getting out and backpacking, and I hope that you will too, even if you've never done it before, or if you've been a little intimidated just because you think you might be too old. You're not. Forrest and I are out for a little hike today at St. Vrain State Park, which is not far from my home. It's flat, there's a lot of lakes and some campsites, and it's a great spot for fishing. Not hardcore hiking by any means, but I was sick for a few days and I'm kind of just easing back into it before I start tackling some heavier hikes, which made me think this might be a good time to do a video for older hikers. So you may have wondered at any age, I hear people say even at 30, 40, going on 50, that they think that they might be too old to go backpacking, and the answer is a resounding no. But I do have 7 tips to share with you that can make the experience more pleasant and safer as you go along. All right, so tip number 1 is to stretch on a regular basis, because stretching can help you not only prevent injury, can make you feel more comfortable as you start your hike. It can also help with balance, and it also kind of gives you a sense of well-being. So there's a lot of good reasons to stretch. I recommend doing it before your hike, after your hike, even on breaks during your hike, and also on a regular basis at home. So there's a lot of good stretches that can help, particularly with problems like tendon issues, problems with your knees, Achilles tendonitis. I have posterior tibial tendonitis in my foot that can be a recurring problem. So a lot of stretching can alleviate those problems if you do it on a regular basis and do it before you get started, so that you're nice and kind of limbered up before you start your hike. So stretch as often as possible, do it slowly, do it gently, don't rush, don't try to push too hard. I can barely touch my toes right now just because I haven't been stretching as much as I should, but it's okay. You just want to make sure that you are gently extending your muscles and getting them ready to do some hiking. All right, how about tip number 2? This is one that you've probably heard and you may aspire to, and that is packing light. It is really easy, especially if you don't backpack a lot, to let the weight in your pack get out of hand. It's easy to throw some extra things in there, and especially when you're older and like, I want a little bit more comfort. And you may have a sleeping pad that is thick, and maybe you want to double it up and use a closed cell foam pad too. Lots of things that you can add to your pack actually cause you to carry a heavy load than you need. Now, well, that's fine for comfort. What that might mean is that you're putting more pressure with every step on your hips, on your knees, even on your shoulders and on your back. So if you can find a way to pack light by taking some things out of your pack, and I'm going to do a video very soon on how to do this for almost no cost, so make sure you watch that. But pack light and you're going to be a lot more comfortable throughout the day and even in the evening when you go to bed. Just make sure that you don't let extra things creep into your pack, that you're not carrying things that you don't need, and that most of the stuff in your pack serves multiple purposes. Lightening up your pack can be intimidating, it can be challenging, it can be expensive, but it is worth it. As an older backpacker, if you want to be comfortable and to be able to do bigger miles and not go just 3 or 4 miles and feel like I am just aching everywhere, my hips ache, everything hurts. That's not a fun trip. So try to pack light. All right, let's move on to tip number 3, and that is to take a lot of breaks. I know when you're backpacking and you're getting tired, it's really easy to say, I'm just going to press on. I just want to get there, get to the shelter, get to the campsite, whatever it may be. But that's not always the best choice. So if you can map out some great places to stop in advance, or even as you go, if you see a beautiful spot, give yourself a break and take in the view. When you're stopping for a break, it is a great time to make sure that you're eating well, having a little snack, hydrating. I enjoy taking breaks at water sources just for that reason, because I can sit there and take my time and drink as much water as possible before I fill up and move on. Another opportunity at a break is that you can stretch, you can rest if you're tired, and you can also check your itinerary. Make sure that you're heading the right way, that you're on track, that sort of thing. So take those breaks and your overall hike, I think, will be much more enjoyable than if you just rush through it, trying to get from campsite to campsite and wear yourself out in the process. All right, let's talk about tip number 4, which is eating well while you're on the trail. And actually eating well in general, because if you eat well before you head out on a backpacking trip, you're going to feel a lot better while you're actually out there hiking. Now, if you've seen any of my videos about what's in my food bag, you know that I am not an avatar for healthy eating. I love junk food, I love ramen, I love candy. Those things, of course, are all yummy, but they may not be what your body needs to really fuel you to have a great backpacking trip. So I know there's a philosophy, and I've subscribed to it myself, that says any calories are good calories when you're on a long distance hiking trip and your body's consuming 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. But at the same time, there are nutrients that are important to you. And if you're living off Skittles and Starburst and Snickers and ramen, you're probably not getting all of those nutrients. I find it's helpful if you have the opportunity to dehydrate some of your own backpacking meals, because then you can bring things that you know are nutritious, that you really enjoy. If you can't do that, then try to pick up some things like cheeses that are going to give you a little bit more healthy fat. Olive oil, tuna, that sort of thing is good for you. Buy the good quality stuff and try to manage the sugars a little bit, because that will give you an immediate burst of energy, but at the same time, if you're older and you're having any issues with your A1C, your blood sugar, that sort of thing, it's better to keep it leveled out. Check the labels on what you're eating and see if you can actually identify what's in there. Thankfully, there are a lot of backpacking food companies now that are providing not only vegan and vegetarian options, but also healthier options that don't have as many chemicals in them. So I'd recommend taking a look at some of those. And if you find that you're eating something on your trip that is just sapping your energy, which happened to me on the AT when I was eating Pop-Tarts for breakfast, they stole my mojo. So if you feel like your body is in some way reacting to some of your backpacking food, it's better to either give it away in a hiker box or just not buy it again the next time, so that you can be healthy and really well energized along your trek. Now, another tip is if you can't eat well, or you're having difficulty eating well while you're on the trail, when you get into town, make sure that you do, scarf up a salad, eat some healthier things while you're there. It's okay to have a milkshake. I'm definitely not policing your diet, because you can eat whatever you want, but the better you eat, the better you feel, and the better you will hike. All right, we are up to tip number 5 now. And that is hike with a buddy. If you're on a long distance trail, you might be able to hook up with a trail family and have some company along the way. If you're just doing backpacking in your local area and you don't have any friends that want to go with you, you might have lots of friends, but none of them are backpackers. You can check your local Facebook groups, your local meetups, and that sort of thing, and try to find somebody who is interested in going backpacking with you. The advantage of having a buddy is if you're uptight, then you can share gear like a tent or a stove. And just one cook pot, that sort of thing. That'll save a little bit of weight, but it also just gives you some companionship on the trail, gives you a sense of security so that you don't have to camp alone at night, or if you're a little uncomfortable backpacking by yourself, it gives you an opportunity to share that and allay that fear by hiking with somebody else. And for safety, it's good, because if either one of you has a medical issue, then the other one can step up and help take care of it. All right, we are ready for tip number 6. And that is to take shorter hikes. So why would you want to take shorter hikes? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One, you get to camp earlier, which gives you time to just relax and enjoy, especially if you're hiking with a buddy. And it also gives you a chance to get settled in for the night, have a good dinner, get all cleaned up, and then get in your tent at a reasonable hour so that you can sleep well. And sleep on the trail, especially as you get older, is really critical for enjoying your backpacking trip, especially as an older backpacker. Another reason to do shorter trips is if you are doing fewer miles every day, you have more time to recover from those miles during the evening, and you also have the opportunity to stop along the way and enjoy views like this. So I used to be one that I would skip a lot of the views because I just wanted to get where I was going, and I felt like I was a slower hiker, so it was hard for me to do 20, 25 miles a day, and I'd skip the views. And then when I get back from my trip, I'd be like, man, I wish I'd gone to this waypoint or that waypoint, something that was maybe just 0.1 off the trail, and I didn't because I was rushing through my backpacking trip. So if you want to really enjoy, plan a shorter route. Maybe do 6 to 8 miles a day instead of 15, or spread it out so that you're maybe out for a few more days, but you're doing shorter miles each day. As our bodies age, we just feel the effects of those miles more and more, so recovery time becomes more and more important, And if you plan a little bit shorter trip, the extra time to savor the journey a little bit more will give you an opportunity to enjoy your backpacking trip as an older backpacker more than you might have even in your 20s or 30s, because you're actually in the moment and enjoying where you are. All right, our hike is almost done. My car is just a little ways back that way behind me. So it's probably a good time to talk about tip number 7, which is to prepare for emergencies. We all know that emergencies can happen at any time to anyone when we least expect it, but when you're out on a backpacking trip, you could be miles from help, and so it's really important that you have the things you need to triage and also to make contact with the outside world. So carry a little inReach like that. Highly recommend one of those. Also wear a road ID or some kind of other ID, especially if you have medical issues. The road ID will actually let you create a whole website for first responders. So if something happens and you're not responsive, they can look it up through your road ID and know what medical conditions or allergies you might have. So that's really important. Hopefully nothing bad will ever happen, but if you have a health history of issues like maybe heart issues or something like that, make sure that you have your medicines with you. If you have the opportunity to take a class in wilderness first aid, that's a great resource and knowledge base to have. It'll show you things that you can use in your pack and just around you on the trail for first aid if you need to, especially if you're waiting hours for somebody to come perform a rescue. And most importantly, make sure that people know where you're going to be. So if you don't have a lot of family around the area, if you're going to a remote trail, you can just leave an itinerary tucked away in your car. Not necessarily on your dash, because you don't need to advertise that your car is going to be sitting in a trailhead for a few days, but you can leave a piece of paper closed up on the seat in case somebody ever, God forbid, has to come and find you. Please let people know where you're going to be, what your itinerary is, and when you expect to be back. Also, if you're going to be out of touch for a few days because there's no cell service, make sure that they're aware of that as well. I actually had an issue on the Colorado Trail where Andy sent out the cavalry looking for me because he thought that he should have been able to reach me and he wasn't. And 24 hours had gone by, so I had the mountain rescue come looking for me, which I don't want to waste their resources, and I'm sure you don't either, but you can watch a video on that up above. Definitely have an emergency plan, have some supplies with you, carry an EpiPen if you have allergies, and just make sure that you're ready for emergencies, not only just for yourself. Very often there are hikers out on the trail who are not prepared, and you might encounter a hiker, whether it's an older hiker having a heart issue or a younger hiker with heat exhaustion. If you have the skills and the gear in your pack to be able to help out, then that's a wonderful thing to be able to do and actually potentially save somebody's life. All right, well, Forrest and I made it safely back to our car, and we are ready to head back. We got in a couple of miles of good exercise, but as you can see, this is probably not the ideal trail for training for something like the Colorado Trail. But as I get healthier myself, then I'll be able to get out and do more intense hikes. I'm looking forward to that. You know, it's important to take it easy on yourself too with your health, especially as you get older, and just accept that sometimes you're not going to be able to get out and do the hikes that you want to do. But hopefully, if you take care of yourself, train well, eat well, get lots of rest, you'll be in good shape for your next backpacking trip. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and to share it with somebody you know who could benefit from these tips as well. And I will look forward to seeing you again very soon.